Hello again. My name is Allison, aka Siva, and I am bringing you a video about cleansing crystals and stones. This is very important to do for your crystals, especially if you're going to use them a lot. They're going to pick up a lot of energy, and that energy needs to come out eventually. So, there's a few ways you can do this. Very simple in your home too. If you're somebody who's like me and you have kids and you can't get outside to do it, these options are going to be great for you. So the first one we have is water, and I have a plain glass of water. This is tap water. You can use river water, creek water, rainwater, which are the best, but you can use tap water too. um, the important thing is to make sure it's in a glass, because glass is a natural material and it's better than plastic. But if plastic's all you got, it will work. I prefer glass because it is natural. You just want to take your glass, sit it somewhere undisturbed, like a windowsill, and the sunlight is great. Let's see what we got. What do we got? Okay. This is a tumbled yellow opal. You just take your stones like this, sit them down in there. A few pieces of cherryite. I love these. I just got these. They have beautiful colors. Nice purples. Can you see that? Can the camera pick that up? Oh yeah. See how beautiful they are? They're tumbled. Just stick them in there like so. Leave them in there for a while until you feel like their energies have returned to neutral and they are good to go. Um, Depending on how much they have been used will depend on how long you're going to leave them in there. Like for me, I carry a lot of crystals around with me to absorb negative energy, psychic protection, aura protection, to keep my aura nice and strong. So when I put them in there, I usually leave them in there for a few days to a week. I wouldn't recommend longer than 5 days in water, because and anything that's brightly colored, any dyed agate. This is a good one. This is a nice piece of dyed agate. It's been dyed. You can see that. Putting it in water can discolor it, so you need to be careful of that, especially for the next thing we're going to talk about. Okay. So another method in using water would be the same thing, a glass with some water, but before any crystals are put into it, what you're going to do is get some sea salt, and you can pick this up at any grocery store, Walmart, Target, Kroger, Sam's Club will have bulk amounts. I got this at a Bilo. It was $1 or $2, and you want to take just a little bit. For like a cup this size, you would use, can the camera pick that up? You would use, that's like half a teaspoon, a fourth of a teaspoon, not a lot for a glass this size. So about a fourth of a teaspoon for a glass this size. Dump it in, mix it up real good until it's all dissolved, and then put your crystals and stones in. The saltwater method is very effective. I do not use it personally. I did at first, and then it decolorized a few of my stones, a few pieces of agate slabs that I had that were dyed like bright magenta, blue, and purple, and it really faded that. And after that, I said, no, no more. And it can actually damage some stones, some very porous stones like selenite. And this is all selenite here, these wands. These are all selenite. Selenite is very, very porous. I would not recommend sticking it in water at all for cleansing or anything. Unless you're cutting and reshaping it, do not get selenite wet. I would not recommend that. at all, because it is very porous. And other stones that are like that, I wouldn't use the water method. So moving on is my personal favorite. This is what I do with all of my stones when they need it, is the earth method. Now, in this lovely old ice cream container, I have earth. You see that? And inside already is some rose quartz. Now, I filled this up from my backyard and I brought it in, and it sits in my stairs because my stairs have no light. There's no window, and it's nice and cool in the steps all the time. So that's where it sits. And it has all these lovely pieces of rose quartz. They're tumbled. And all you do is stick it in there, push them down in, cover them up, bury them really good. Like this, just push them right back down in there, cover them up. Now, when you use earth like this, it not only cleanses the stones because you're putting them back in the earth where they came from originally, it also charges them. So they're getting energy back, good positive energy back, as they're displacing the negative energy that they've pulled in. And so it's resetting them back to, a neutral energy where they need to be to do their job. And then when they're done, like the earth, when you put them in the earth, they can stay in there for a lot longer. When I have a grid up, and I leave my grid up for weeks on end, say I leave it up there for 6 to 12 weeks, like this one, it's for protection, for psychic protection, and then they're done, I will stick them in the earth and I will leave them in there for almost as long as they were used. So if they were sitting out for 6 weeks, they're going to go back into the earth for between 4 to 6 weeks again, and that won't hurt them. It won't decolorize them. It won't damage them in any way. Even your selenite, that's very porous. It will not hurt very porous stones. Now you may think, what do I do when I bring them out of the dirt? Okay. Now with something like tumbled stone, very simple. You take it out, you take it over to your water source, whether that is the tap and the faucet in the sink, whether you have rainwater or creek water. You rinse them off with your hands, rub them with your hands nice and gently, get all the dirt off. If you need to use a brush, a makeup brush is wonderful for getting in those little nooks and cracks to get the dirt back out. Do not use a wire brush because that's too hard. It will rip and crack and pull. You want to use a nice soft brush, like a paintbrush, something very, very soft, to clean the dirt back out. And then simply dry them off with a nice cloth, and they're good to go. I love the dirt method. That's how I do all of my stones. Now, for something porous, like I said, like selenite, if you stick this in the dirt, when you pull it out, it's going to have a lot of dirt in it, okay? So if you need to rinse it, okay, do it very quickly. Don't hold it under there for a long period of time. Don't stick it in water, leave it, and then pull it out, because it will absorb the water then, and it will crack and break on you, get very damaged. Earth, in my opinion, is the best way to cleanse them, and it charges them at the same time. And a lot of people think, you don't need to charge your stones. You don't per se need to charge them, but it helps. It really does help to give them that boost of energy that they need. I mean, you have to remember, they're working on a very subtle level. They are working. It's just, it's not a super, bullet energy here. It's not like bing, bang, boom, right in your face. It's, very soft and subtle. And for stones that are rough, like this Amazonite, it's a beautiful piece of Amazonite, or this piece of selenite that's rough, or this piece of peacock ore that's rough. When you stick it in the dirt, when it comes back, it's going to have a lot of dirt in those nook and crannies. So you really have to be patient and take the time to, you know, get in there and do it. What I like to do, if I can't keep like something like this Amazonite, which is going to get a lot of dirt inside of it after it's done, I'll put it in the dirt for a day, 2, 3 at tops, pull it out, rinse it off, use a nice soft brush to, while it's in the water, to get all that dirt off. Then I will dry it very gently like this by patting it dry, and then take it, and you want to charge it then, because it, you know, that's a little traumatic for it to be put underwater and scrubbed clean. Then I like to take it and put them out in the sun. You just simply put them in a very sunny place. They can sit in a window, they can sit on a deck, anywhere where they're going to get full sun, and leave them in the sun. The longer you leave them in the sun, the more energy they will absorb, and the more energy they will have to use. Sunlight is charging. Moonlight, same thing. Leave them in a windowsill, leave them anywhere outside in the full moonlight, where they will get all of those lunar rays, where they will be undisturbed. That also charges them. Now, me personally, because I have kids, I have 3 boys, very young boys. One's a baby, he's only 3 months old. Another one's a 1.5-year-old. So I can't leave my stones outside where they can be played with. So for me, I charge mine by putting them next to larger pieces. This one's not that large, but it's a good example. Any smaller stone, when it sits up against or on top of a larger piece, it will get a charge from the larger piece. This is a piece of Himalayan salt that I got at Ross that I use for charging some of my crystals. And some of the crystals I have in here actually are the ones that I use for connecting with my guides. Little piece of Epidot in Matrix. A piece of rough howlite. You see that? Rough howlite. See, a small tumbled piece of peach moonstone, a piece of prehnite, tumbled piece of prehnite. This was one of the first stones I ever got. A rough piece of labradorite. This is one of my favorite pieces of labradorite. And a piece of rutile. Rough piece of rutile. And I keep them in here. This is a candle holder. It was a candle holder. Now it is just my charger, and I use it strictly for charging my stones, whether they are rough cut or whether they are tumbled. It doesn't matter. When I am not using my crystals, they go back in here. Now they don't have to go inside it to get charged. Like I said, they can sit up against it. When they're touching it, it works better. They are getting the energy directly, so it works better. It still works if they're close, like close to it, like this, but it's slower. It's not as quick. So if you can stick it up against it, that works. Himalayan salt lamp. Have one right down here, where I also sit crystals on top of it, especially when it's on, because it's giving off those negative ions in the air, and it's helping to charge the crystals that sit on it. You know, and those are some of the ways you can charge and cleanse your crystals. Another way, which I can't show you because I'm in the house, is a river or a creek. What you want to do is take your stones, whether they're tumbled or rough, it doesn't matter, small or large. If they are small, I would put them in a mesh baggie, because you're going to submerge them in the water in the creek or river and keep them there where the flowing water will flow on top of them. And that will cleanse and charge them at the same time, the same way the earth does. And that is a wonderful way for them to get cleansed and charged. It's like a mini vacation for your crystals. Believe it or not, they do get tired of the same routine, doing the same things, and they too do need, you know, something different and a break. So that's another way to do it. A lot of people live next to water, so if you have natural water on your property, that's a great way to do it. I would do that if I could. I wouldn't do it in the ocean though with salt water, only because a lot of crystals are very very delicate. So if you're someone who can do that, I would research that first to make sure that the stones I'm putting in that salt water weren't going to be destroyed or hurt or discolored by it, because I don't live near the ocean, so I have no experience with that. But everything else that I've mentioned works really, really well. So hopefully this video has helped some people, and I will see you guys again. Bye.